Hello and welcome to episode 2 of Judgement Day with me, Marc Cairney, on the Boise Bus. Before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe and tell all your friends and family about the show. And thanks for watching. Before we start, just wanted to pick up on one wee news story I seen earlier on regarding IFAB. They've decided to bring in mic'd up referees for the Club World Cup next. I think it's this February, next month. I think that's a great idea. I noticed a wee bit on the radio last night. They were kind of being negative towards it. I reckon there's a bit 3 or 4 different reasons why, which we'll not get into. But from my point of view, it's a positive step for Scottish football if it comes in 3, 4, 5 years, whatever it is, because it's not only is it good for people watching on telly, but the folk in the stadium that are not really knowing what's happening, these guys are going to get a chance to get in-game decisions read out to them and made clear to them, because too many times now we've sat in the stadium and we've not known what the goal's been chopped off for. It's just been a VAR check and then it's just been no one know what's happening. So it's not really fair to anybody, but especially the guy in the stands paying a lot of money. And to be quite honest with you, even for the people watching at home, it adds to the spectacle. They were saying on the radio last night that how can a referee sit there in front of 60,000 people at Celtic Park and justify his decision or explain his decision? Well, the NFL for the last 30, 40 years have been doing it in front of 100,000 fans. So for me, there's no difference. I think Scottish football, world football, has just got to progress with the times. If you're going to bring in VAR, you're going to need to bring in everything that goes with it, and that includes criticism and innovation. So without further ado, we'll bring in the first question. Let's see who it's from. It's from Charles Smith. How are you doing, Charles? If Jackie Marcus is to move on, will Celtic upgrade on him, or can you see us bringing in another SPFL striker? Now, Charles, what I think Celtic should do and what I think Celtic will do might differ. I think there will be candidates all through Europe scouted by Celtic. Guys we've probably never even heard of or have not popped up yet. I know Nisbet was quoted last week by somebody pressing his country. Don't get me wrong, I think there's a wee bit of kind of mischief making where, and it's a wee bit an easy, lazy press by this country's paps. But nah, no, for me, I think that's a non-starter. I think even Celtic know it's a non-starter. I mean, the price quoted was 3 or 4 million. You know, to replace Giakoumakis, the top goal scorer in the last 2 seasons, with a guy in Scotland, I mean, even the optics of that just looks bad. I don't think even Celtic, with a certain Mr. Lawwell, we could do on that road. There was a young guy for Rosenborg, Kasper Trongast, I think his name was. He's been scoring goals in Norway. I think he was in the Midtjylland reserve team when he came out to Norway, and he's scoring goals, and Celtic, I mean, linked with him. For me, I think Celtic should be going for the same type of striker as Giakoumakis. I mean, I said on the last Judgement Day show that see if you're going to get a certain type of striker, like Giakoumakis must fit what Ange Postecoglou wants as a second choice striker, or even a different choice striker. You're that tall, imposing type player, you know what I mean? If he was to go in and buy a Lee Griffiths type, for talking sake, or a Scott McDonald type, that would totally go against the grain, so to speak, or go against what we all feel that Ange Postecoglou started out with. His starting point was to build a team that was progressive, exciting to watch, and winning. Giakoumakis was part of that, but Giakoumakis was brought in not necessarily as a second choice, but as an option striker, that horses for courses sort of thing. European type games where Celtic are up against it, we need to get that ball out to a kind of John Hartson type, you know, chest it down and let your midfield players come into play and things like that. And I think Celtic, when Ange was speaking the other day there about one more player coming in, I think he is in the market for a player. I think it'll be a striker. I genuinely do. See whether Giakoumakis goes this window or no. It's up for debate. I think the writing's on the wall. He probably is going to go. There's just too much press for it to be false news. When you hear reports about bids getting accepted, I think there's been real discussions somewhere along the lines. It's not been totally made up. He's going to go, and I think Celtic are going to have to replace him with the same type of striker, where that's somebody that's fitter, gets into the play more often. He's going to start more games, maybe even score more goals. That's that's to be seen. But I think a striker, not on these shows, it'll be a European or even Asian-based player coming in. I think, mate, I think they've got to at least show the fan base that they're progressing in the right direction. And thanks for that question, Charles. That was a good one, mate. Next one is from Alex Subsy. If I was in charge, what players would you allow to move on, and which players would you be reluctant to leave? Well, the players I'd like to move on, it's probably the same ones as everybody else. Guys like your Stephen Welsh, your McCarthy's, Ideguchi. I mean, we all heard he was leaving the end of December, and we thought he'd be on the way out after the January window open, but he still seems to be there. I think the guys have got to go. We've noticed that Siegrist has been maybe injured just now, so we can't put Scott Bain in that list just yet. We have to keep a hold of him, but I think there's a few players that I think could easily go now. I think I would even add Juranovic to that list. Now, I know Juranovic is of a certain quality and a certain standard, but he's the kind of player that I think we could let go and not be too harmed. And by that, I mean, we've got his replacements already in the door. Johnson, again last night, I mean, there was talk of folk being Rolls Royces this week in the newspapers, talking about Rangers players, Ryan Jack, etc. It makes you laugh. I mean, fuck, I'm like a Skoda, but that's a right Rolls Royce guy. That guy's played 3-4 games for Celtic, and it looks like he's played 40 games for Celtic. Just what a good football player that is, and we've got him for a pittance. And why stunt his progression? Leave the guy in the rest of the season, rotate him in Ralston, do what you've got to do. But Juranovic being there, I think, is just going to hinder his progression this season. And why play a player who's going to be gone in 4 months' time? There's no point. My only issue there was as if Greg Taylor's going to be fit. And if Greg Taylor's going to be fit very soon, Juranovic will go. I think Ange just doesn't trust Bernabei yet, and that's why he's still there. So that's the kind of 4 players that I would kind of be happy to see go. No, I would be quite happy to see the 4 go, to be quite honest with you. Reluctant players to go, I think there was talk, very small talk, quite muted, of Matt O'Reilly getting his head turned. Maybe that's why his form's been so poor just now. Who knows? He's a young guy. He's probably got people in his ear speaking of 20, 30 grand a week in England. I mean, that would make you kind of go off form a wee bit. I think these things are real in the real world when you're a real person and people are offering you money. I mean, you can't be immune to that. It happens, your head gets turned. Matt O'Reilly be falling to that camp. As much as I think he's been pretty poor this season, his stats are still pretty good. As I see, he's still got the most assists and most key passes this season. So good on him. So he's been reluctant for me to be leaving. The number 1 target straight person I'd want to go is Giakoumakis. I mean, with all the players that we've seen being linked away, and there's not been many, to be fair. There's maybe only been 2 or 3 kind of first-team players, but I think the thought of losing Giakoumakis, it really does irk me a wee bit, because I've said it before, I think he scores goals if he plays, you know what I mean? You give the guy 10 starts, he'll score you 10 goals. I think he's capable of doing that. Rangers hate him, you know what I mean? He's just a pest. He swings about their centre-backs, their midfield kind of need to step one back from him. They just know he's on the park. A couple of criticisms from me, he's always getting away fouls, and if he's playing a bad game, sometimes he can get a bit sluggish. But other than that, I think he's an excellent player for Celtic, and for him to go, I think would be a wee bit a sickness for me. So all in all, this window, I think any of Juranovic, Welsh, McCarthy, Ideguchi, they can all go. But Giakoumakis, I'm really reluctant for him to go. I think he's a really good player, and I'd love to see him stay for at least the end of this season. Next question. This is for the Holy Goalie. What a name, mate. Does Bernabei have the potential to improve, or is it looking like a wasted? Sorry, I washed pretty much. So basically, he's saying we've wasted £4 million on him. Sorry, my eyes are terrible. Well, I spoke about this before. I said he's a raffle winner, and to be honest with you, he looks like a raffle winner. When you see him play, he does look like he just saw football for the very first time. And do you know what? He does. It looks like to me as if he's in the wrong movie. I can't say whether the guy's got potential to get better, because if you think back to Bobby Petta and Stan Petrov, and under John Barnes, they were out the door. I mean, every Celtic fan was saying get rid of him. I mean, even people forgetting that 6-2 game, that turned Bobby Pettit and Stan Petrov's Celtic career around. More so for Stan Petrov, but Bobby Pettit was out the window. He was getting ready to get chopped when Martinelli came in and he gave him a few games, and the guy just grew and grew and grew. So you never know what's going to happen. We've also had players that look like they're ready to leave the door because they're just not good enough, and then a manager comes in and changes his outlook. I think Ange can make any player better. I think no matter how good you are, if you're willing to learn, Ange will make you better. Everybody's got a glass ceiling, and you will hit it eventually. Bernabeu's ceiling, I don't quite know. I'm going to be honest with you. I genuinely feel that he's been brought in as first choice left back, and he showed up, and the coaching staff went, "Oh fuck, he's not the player we thought he was." I don't think he's sitting with a scouting report and go to the board and ask for £4 million. And when they ask who it's for, you say, "Oh, it's for the second choice left back behind the boy for Kilmarnock." I do not think that's for a minute that's what's happened. I think he's been brought in. Now that happens in football. Sometimes you can scout a player for maybe even 12 months, 18 months, and they look great. They show up to Celtic Park under the big lights, big stadium, a lot of pressure, new country, and things just don't kick off for them. I mean, I'm sure there was a player in Shane Duffy. He just couldn't adapt to Scottish football or adapt to being a Celtic player. Bernabeu might be the same. He might take a bit longer to get into the swing of things, but if you're asking me just now, would I cut my losses if I was in charge? I would cut my losses. I think if we could get some money back on him, I would probably take it and try and replace him with a decent choice left back for second choice. Another way I can describe the guy is, or even sum the guy up, is we've been playing a lot of games recently, and we've been playing a right back, or outgoing right back at left back. We've done that all throughout the season. If there's any issues with Greg Taylor, it's happened a couple of times to Greg Taylor, Ange is reluctant to play Bernabeu. Now that tells me that Ange, when it comes to the actual blood and guts, doesn't trust him. And I'm all on the camp for trusting Ange, and he makes poor decisions sometimes. I'd say 8 out of 10 he makes really good decisions. He knows a player better than me, you and I, but he just knows better than most folk, you know what I mean? He's a fantastic coach. I mean, he can make anybody better, as I says, but the proof's in the pudding. I mean, it's the same as your number 6 position. I mean, we've played games and we've had Matt O'Reilly there for 5-6 weeks when Greg Taylor was being it, and he's bought 4-5 number 6s and not one of them slotted in. Although Aaron Moy has found a new position, or at least looks more comfortable further up the park. So never know how a player can turn when he's season. Dyson Maeda and Aaron Moy could have left in January the 1st now when the ball Mars. But see when you actually think about it, the football they two have put in since the World Cup has been phenomenal. They've been the best players at Celtic, I think. Kyogo's scoring a lot of goals. He's got a lot of headlines, but Maeda's work rate and goal scores and goals he's scored and the types of goals he's scored since he come back has been phenomenal. That goal at Easter Road, just a pivotal goal, great goal, 20-yarders, scoring at Hampden, getting man chopped off, scoring at Ibrox. That's just that's not a player, that's no luck. That's a player that's on form. That's a player that's on the ball. And Bernabeu might get that chance at Celtic. It only takes one good performance for a player. It only takes one performance where he walks off the park and says, right, I'm ready to wear this Celtic jersey. And the Celtic support will take to him. And see, once the Celtic support take to you, I think you've got a right good chance at making it at Celtic because they love you and they give you a bit more leeway. And I think that's us, unless there's any more questions. No, that's us. Listen, guys, thanks for asking. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell all your pals to watch the show. And thanks for watching. And I'll see you next Thursday, I think, for another segment of Judgment Day.